chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good night to you, my friends, near and far. How are you on this fabulous Tuesday? Welcome, welcome, one and all. Just give me and bear with me a second just so I can get these links up here, because I know I want to make sure that I got everybody on stream here this evening. And we make sure that we get this live because we're continuing with our discussion from yesterday. Thank you, all of you who shared your feedback. And I got a lot of questions as well into today. And thank you so much. There's been so much clarity around the document. And we're just going to end it. We're going to finish it up here this afternoon. And the sections that we're going to cover is just as important. And we're going to be breaking it down exactly how we did it yesterday. Just bear with me. I want to make sure that you can find me all. So if you're on the CMR WhatsApp channel, all the links that are live right now have been posted there, attached with the flyer that I was promoting this continued episode from last night. So welcome, welcome, one and all. It's good to be back with you here this evening. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and for all of you, if you're your first time, I know a lot of you have just discovered me from in the region. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and for your positive feedback as well. We love having you here. We see you, we appreciate you, and that's why, when it comes to these topics, and it has no boundaries, it has no borders either, because we're all so interconnected. But thank you so much. We see you and we appreciate you joining us here. Tonight, as I said, we are continuing with our clear and honest walk through the Cayman immigration framework. What we're going to do is we continue to break it down in plain language so that you can understand exactly how these changes affects you, your family, and the future of the Cayman Islands. Now, for all of you who joined me yesterday, that our last episode covered the major structural changes from the right to be Caymanian to permanent residence and residence and employment rights certificates. And tonight, the explanation, as I said, will continue as we pick up where we left off, because we're moving more into the operational side of the reform, and that is covering compliance, monitoring, and information sharing. And breaking that down, we will keep going into the rules around the arrangements of convenience, the new grounds for permanent residencies revocations, and the updated pathway for persons of independent means as well. We'll also take a look into the new certificate categories, from commercial farmhands to specialist caregivers, and the rules around reissuance of certificates and even duplicates. So there's a lot to unpack here, but we'll break it down. I trust you. What use all of these revised definitions as well, and how the revised definition will shape how the law is interpreted that has been some questions. There has been some questions around that. For full disclosure, I am just delivering the document that is put into the public's domain and breaking it down in as simple layman forms as I can. And also, I want to cover in this segment, we'll talk through the most two heavily updated areas, and those are being work permits and expedited services as well. So yes, it is a lot. It's a lot that we're going to be going through here this evening on this episode. And I'm going to make it as simple as I can, as structured as I can. So settle in and definitely continue to share the love, share, like, follow, and subscribe. Tell your friends that Sabrina is live. 345-936-8255 is the number to call in live, or you can also WhatsApp your messages, concerns, and of course, whatever social media platform you're streaming us live, of course. Just put your messages, your comments, your feedback there as well. The only thing we ask is that you remain respectful, because the views expressed by callers, guests, and online commenters are their own and not those of Bridge Media Limited, its affiliates, Sabrina Speaks Show, or the host. Now, this program is for general information and not a substitute for legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. All participants are reminded to speak responsibly and respectfully. And any content that is defamatory, discriminatory, unlawful, or harmful is strictly prohibited and will not be endorsed or tolerated. Listener participation definitely implies acceptance of this disclaimer. So make sure you like, follow, and share our page with your friends so you're always notified and you've never missed out of an episode right here for Sabrina Speaks as we continue to build our station, our platform here. So yes, Cayman, welcome one and all. Let's get straight into the weather. Oh my goodness, what's it shaping up to be? Yeah, get those umbrellas out. Definitely the weekend seems to be, it's going to be a soaker. But don't listen to me. Let's hear it from the experts. Compliments of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Today's forecast for this evening and into tomorrow, the synopsis is calling for deep moisture lingering around the periphery of a high pressure system will continue to become enhanced ahead of an upper level trough located over the Bay of Honduras. Now, some scattered showers and thunderstorms activity late tonight as a result. Now, fresh to local strong winds will persist through the next few days as the pressure gradient over the Western Caribbean continues to increase. The small craft advisory has been updated to a small craft alert, as seas are expected to become rough tonight. Satellite imageries, as you can see here, shows broken layers of clouds with scattered convection noted west of Grand Cayman. The forecast for tonight is calling for cloudy skies with scattered showers and some thunder after midnight. Temperatures will fall near the mid to upper 70s, and winds will be east to southeast 15 to 20 knots. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet. Again, the small craft advisory has been upgraded to an alert. And tomorrow, this cloudy skies with scattered showers and some thunder. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s with a heat index of near 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be east to southeast, 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet. The small craft alert will remain in effect for tomorrow as well. There will be a high tide this evening at 7:48, a low tide at 1:53 a.m. Sun will set this evening at 6:56 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 5:48. Now, the outlook, my friends, is calling for similar weather conditions through Thursday morning as elevated moisture continues to linger over the Western Caribbean. Now, marine conditions are expected to begin improving late Thursday as a result of the pressure gradient gradually weakening thereafter. There you have it, and that's the weather imageries. We are, like I said, is expecting some increased showers this weekend, and I'm quite sure that we will be updated of all of those developments as they become available. And we encourage you to just keep in touch or stay abreast with all local activities that are happening, and we will bring them for you here as well. Let's take a look at what's making local news for this evening right here in the Cayman Islands. Just before 10 p.m. on Monday night, May 25th, police were dispatched to a robbery at a food truck on South Church Street in Georgetown. Two men, one armed with what appeared to be a handgun and another with a knife, demanded cash and escaped with cash pan containing money. Now, no shots were fired and no injuries were reported. Firearms officers later spotted two men on bicycles in Windsor Park, matching the suspect's description. The men fled on foot, and officers apprehended one suspect, a 52-year-old man who remains in custody as investigations continue. In other local news this afternoon, here from the Cayman Islands, wanted man Al Pearson has been arrested and is now in police custody. Pearson has been sought in connection with breach of bail and tampering with an electronic monitor following his court order bail for robbery and possession of an imitation firearm. Now, police says that they wanted notice can now be disregarded, and the RCIPS is thanking members of the public for their assistance in locating him. Just making sure I got my images all in line here. The Cayman Islands is being represented this week at the Caribbean Postal Union Conference in the Bahamas, where regional leaders are gathering to strengthen collaboration and drive innovation in postal services. Honorable Nicholas DaCosta, Minister for District Administration and Home Affairs, accompanied by Deputy Postmaster General Melissa Martinez Ebanks, says the Cayman delegation is ready to engage with purpose and momentum. Officials note that the discussions are already underway as participants work towards a more resilient and connected future for postal networks across the Caribbean. Other local news we see where the museum yesterday welcomed delegates from the Commons Overseas Territory Speakers Conference, including Cayman Islands government representative to the United Kingdom, Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia, for a special guided tour of its permanent and changing exhibitions. Now, the tour was led by museum director, along with curators Brian Watler Jr. and Megan Arch. Museum officials thanks the delegates for engaging with the history, culture, and story showcased across the Cayman Islands national collections. Other local news. Yes, we celebrate along with Cayman International School in a historic achievement by grade 10 student Sierra, who has become the first junior rider from the Cayman Islands to qualify for the North American Youth Championships, competing in a dressage at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, Florida. She earned podium finishes in every class, including 2 first-place results, and Cayman Islands CIS, Cayman Islands International School, says that Sierra's dedication, talent, and perseverance continue to inspire the school community, which is proudly cheering her on. And that's from a national perspective as well. Congratulations for all of your hard work and dedication. We know that this is the beginning of turtle nesting season. Yes, turtle nesting season is officially on the way here in the Cayman Islands, and the Department of Environment is reminding the public to help protect nesting turtles and raise awareness of the threats they face. From May through November, local beaches serve as critical nesting grounds for endangered sea turtles. Now, officials are urging residents and visitors to keep shorelines dark, avoid disturbing nests, and report any turtle activity to support ongoing conservation efforts. We turn our attention this evening to what's news making it regional. Cuba has published the names of thousands of prisoners included in an amnesty announced last month, as the government continues tense negotiations with the United States over a range of disputes, including political detainees. The list released yesterday, Monday, outlines those eligible for early release under the measure. The moves comes as Washington and Havana hold sensitive talks aim at easing long-standing tensions while addressing human rights concerns. We turn our focus this evening and we put the spotlight on Barbados and Guyana because, yes, Barbados and Guyana have announced a new bilateral arrangement that will soon allow citizens to travel between two countries using only their national identification cards. The initiative, revealed ahead of both nations' 60th independent anniversaries, is aimed at strengthening regional mobility and deepening ties between Bridgetown and Georgetown. Official says that the move reflects a shared commitment to closer Caribbean cooperation and easier movement for their people. And yes, we put our spotlight now on Jamaica because guess what? Prime Minister Andrew Holness visited Sabina Park on Monday, 25th, as part of Jamaica's National Labor Day project, an event reported by GIS. He was joined by Culture Minister Olivia Grange, Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr., and Opposition Leader Mark Golden. Now, during the day's activities, the Prime Minister assisted with light repairs, using a screwdriver and helping to move hardware supplies as volunteers worked to upgrade the historic venue. Just bear with me here. And we also see where we celebrate, let me get the image here, just bear with me. This is when you're a one-man show. Not complaining by any means. It's just sometimes they only allows you so much images that can do a smooth run. So that is why I am just a little behind, but please bear with me because we're bringing it live for you. Yes, we are celebrating Guyana's independence today, and I just want to share that with you as we continue here with our continued coverage here this evening. Let's roll. Here we go. Yes. Guyana today marked the 60th anniversary of its independence, with President Ifran Ali leading national celebrations. Now, the milestone reflects 6 decades of progress, resilience, and nation building since Guyana gained independence back in 1966. President Ali highlighted the country's achievements and ongoing development as citizens at home and abroad join the commemorating this historic moment for the nation. There we go for all of those who are here from Guyana as well. Don't have the images here, but it's worth sharing with you. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is reminding users to be cautious when screen shooting or shotting Facebook Messenger chats. The platform has explained its privacy tools, and disappearing messages in end-to-end encrypted chats will now trigger a notification if someone takes a screenshot. Zuckerberg demonstrated the feature publicly, saying it's part of Meta's push to strengthen user privacy. Now, regular messenger chats are not affected by the update. So all of you who like to screenshot, you can't say you haven't been warned. Oh, no. There's been a new study as well that suggests that honeybees' venom may destroy up to 100% of certain breast cancer cells in under an hour under laboratory conditions. Now, researchers found that melatonin, a compound in the venom, rapidly targeted aggressive cancer cells while causing limited damage to healthy tissue. Now, scientists says that the results are promising, especially for hard-to-treat breast cancers, but stresses that the research is still in early stages. More clinical studies are needed before it can be considered a medical treatment. There you have it. That ends our news headlines for this evening, including regional and local news right here. It's good to be back with you on this Tuesday evening. Welcome, welcome, one and all. How are you doing today? I'm hoping everyone is having a good Tuesday. And we're looking forward definitely to what is in store for the rest of the week. I want to remind persons that this is Art Week here in the Cayman Islands, and it is set from today until the 31st of May. And organizers are inviting the public to explore galleries and studios and creative spaces across all three islands. And this year's program will include Cayman Art Week West bus and walking tours on Thursday, the 28th of May. And that's covering Cayman Bay, 7 Mile Beach, and West Bay Road. And then on Friday, May the 29th, the Central Tour will highlight Georgetown and Industrial Park, followed by East and BRAC bus tours on Saturday, the 30th of May. Now, Cayman Art Week continues to spotlight the depth of diversity for Cayman's artistic community. There you have it. Oof, that seemed difficult today for some weird reason. I don't know why. But yes, let's get into acknowledging all of you loyal fans and followers, commenters as well, and even my WhatsApp family. It's good to have you joining me here this evening. And for all of you celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday from all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. It's good to have you join us and celebrate with you, wishing you many, many more. Maybe you're celebrating an anniversary or even just life. It is good to celebrate that and cheer you on, wishing you only blessings moving forward. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those families as well who are mourning the loss of a loved one during this difficult time. Our thoughts and prayers are with you all. Hey, Sherry Coleman, watching with you. Thank you very much. It's good to have you here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. Oh, yeah. Look who's back at Harry, 54321. How are you? Bonjour. Yep. Is that my Harry? News from England. It hit 31. Yes, today and oh yeah, Thursday time to be reconsider. Oh no, to reconsider the swap. I've been following that. Oh my goodness, you guys, you couldn't handle 103 then. You guys, oh my God, Harry, you must be happy though. You must be happy. Still not going to trade it for anything in this world. We'll welcome you, though, to come and enjoy ours. Of course, anytime. Yes, Connie Bonnie is in town. What happened to you today? You're on the road? You forget me? Or am I overlooking something here? Ooh, no, you did not. That's me. That's me, Connie Bonnie. Oh, no. Oh, you can see what happened here, Connie. Oh, my goodness. No. Connie Bonnie. She didn't share with us. I'm so sorry. Connie's store was broken into this morning. And thank you for sharing those images with us. Let me grab these. You can see I was a little behind today. And I'm hoping that the police can investigate everything that's going on here. This is just happening too much. And I don't know what to do. Is this a sign of things to come? Oh, my goodness. It feels like your whole space has been just... Ugh. It's like, yeah, it can't be the same. But thank you, Connie, for sharing this with us. Let me just grab these images that Connie shared with us so that we can share here with you this evening. It's not typical what we would expect from Connie, but it's to just show people exactly what these perpetrators, oh God, what they do and the disruptions that they can cause in your business. It's just heartbreaking. Yeah. So Connie is sharing these pictures with us today. Her place has been broken into. Her offices has been broken into this morning, and they came, and that's how they just dismantled the entire place there. And they actually gain access through a door. Oh, I didn't get that image. Oh, just bear with me. They broke the door here. Yeah, I'm hoping that the police were called and that they can help you solve this. And I'm hoping that you have cameras as well. So this is looks as though this is the entry point here that was breached at her office. So yeah, oh my gosh, look at that. They must have had a hard time prying that open too and must have been there for a while. Well, we leave it up to the professionals to solve this one. And like I said, I'm hoping that the people who did this to you to disrupt your life and just invade your space will definitely be brought to justice. But I would, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. But and I wish you guys all success and hoping that we could report the good news that these perps have been captured and they're dealt with. Yeah. Oh, goodness. When it's not one thing, it's the next. Good evening, Damien. It's so good for you to join us this evening. And you're saying, my 2 cents, people enter our lives with purpose to challenge us, teach us, or make us stronger. The dynamic between CMR, Sandra Hill, and Sabrina Turner shows it clearly. 2 very different forces whose crossing is no accident, creating a push and a pull that shapes everything around them and sparks growth neither could create alone. Big up. Oh, thank you, Damien. So sweet of you. It's true. We do have our own separate, it's 2 different shows altogether, but we are for a purpose. And yes, thank you for that. And long live the relationship and this platform as we both continue to grow here in this space. She's the visioner. I'm here, and we're going to make it work. And at the end of the day, everybody benefits. There you have it. Good evening, Andrew. How are you this fine evening? He's saying, good evening, Sabrina in Cayman Islands. You were going to say, Sabrina, he should visit your show. Smile. Oh, yeah, that could work too. You know what? Visit here. I extended the invitation publicly. Yeah, if he's ever in town, of course I would want to meet up, but I'm not going to swap. Oh, heck no, Andrew. Oh, no. Harry, anytime, my love. Anytime you're near, let me know. We got to catch up. Miss Dorothy is in with us as well today. Thank you so much for joining us from Fort Lauderdale. Let's get into it. Like I said, the phone lines will be open for you to weigh in on this. And but I know a lot of you are saying you don't call because you like the information that is shared. You're more taking it in. And that's why I get a lot of comments after the show and questions as well. Some people ask for a little clarity or to go back. And I appreciate that. So to not lose momentum and we have to break it up again, you want to let's get straight to it. And we pick up where we left off yesterday. Here, breaking this down in simple language, because the work permit part of it is pretty big. Yeah. You are more than welcome, Connie. Let me clear all the messages and then we get straight into it. Harry says, no, it's awful because our heat is muggy and awful because the joys of living in is so-called developed economy, whatever. Yeah, but you know what I'm hearing from friends and family that's in the UK right now, to be honest with you, Harry, it is a different kind of heat. Oh, yeah. I saw you guys had somewhere in the UK rolling down a hill with a thing of cheese or something. And the guy was in a nice suit. I think he was a German national who won the competition, I think, for the first time. And he was like, I just need to get out of these hot clothes. And it was 90 degrees. I'm like, you guys would die if you were in Cayman. But you know what? You guys have climatized to that type of environment. And yesterday was a holiday. Was it a holiday there? But whatever it is, these guys are rolling down this hill, chasing a thing of cheese. And oh my goodness, he didn't get much scrapes and bumps and bruises, but I saw that and I chuckled to myself. But everyone's complaining about the heat. Yes. Yes, Connie, our thoughts are with you and sending you lots of love. It's weird, though, because if you go to Spain or Turkey, it is not like it. And you don't feel awful after being in their heat for the day. That's because you guys ain't used to it, Harry. You ain't built for heat. You built for that cold. So you're talking foolishness, but you could not handle it. It's one of those things, Harry. You can't handle the 3, 4, 5 truth. Not for long periods. But you know what? One of these days, I'm convinced you will come here and you will fall in love and eventually you will climatize. Can't say your utility bill won't be up a little bit until you get into it, but I think you will love it here. I'm going to put that out into the universe just for you. Connie is saying, yes, they came cameras caught oh, good for you. Yes, that's good. I'm so happy. You're more than welcome. So sad. I feel your pain. I had a store in West Bay many years ago and had thousands of dollars of merchandise stolen. Yeah, Harry's saying, person of independent means. Oh, there are others. We're going to break it down. Go to tell. Yeah, without getting too much. There are other ways, my love. There's other ways. Damian Henry, this is sad. I hope your CCTV picked up yes. And she said yes. Andrew said the news is that there's a ceasefire with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz to be open. I pray that this really comes to a mutual agreement this time. Oh, please, Andrew. If it's not between them, then it's some other country blowing up some other place. And I do my best to just be aware of what's happening, but it's an up and down. And then you see it in the markets and it'll set you crazy. It will set you crazy. The heat here is next level. Just dry heat, no wind. Okay, that's the difference because ours has a lot of humidity. Yeah, yes, that's it. This cheese rolling, it's a massive thing in my home country, Gloucester, and the country council tried to ban it. So everyone did the appropriate thing and ignored them and it started back in 1826. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, good for them for keeping that up. But that is funny as heck when you see these people rolling down this hill after a thing of cheese. It is funny. It is funny as heck. So yes, thank you for sharing that. See, I'm in tune. I'm in touch. Yes, just like how we keep you up to date here with all that's happening, Harry, in the Cayman Islands. Now let's get straight into it, into the discussion as we wrap up this document here. Let me pull it on the screen for you because this is where we left off yesterday. We are going to tackle the compliance, monitoring, information sharing, and then we will continue with this as we, I see what you're saying here, Andrew, that they're going to take over Cuba next. We go watch and see. Something doesn't feel right for true. But yeah, we'll stick a pin on that one and we'll keep watching it for sure. Now let's getting into this, continuing this conversation from yesterday. We see here that the revised piece of law strengthens in this section how immigration compliance is monitored here in the Cayman Islands. And it does this in three major ways. One, better information sharing between government agencies. We're hearing that many times they can't accomplish anything because they continue to work in silos and it's just a disaster. They're not information sharing. What this is doing is that based on the legislation, this is one of the areas that has been improved in law for better information sharing between government agencies, government departments, right? The second one is more annual declarations across key immigration categories. And the third one is stronger penalties for false financial information that is declared on your application. And what is happening here is that these changes helps to ensure that immigration decisions are based on accurate information that people holding immigration rights continues to meet the necessary requirements for their specific section, okay, that they were granted it under. Now, when we look at the information sharing between government agencies, we're talking about this new section that has been put in here. All right, see you. But I have a good day and yes, of course. Thank you for sharing that with us, Harry. And yeah, it's always good touching base with you, my dear. All the best. Keep hydrated now. What we're talking about with these new sections of the law is that WORC to share and receive information from a wide range of public bodies. And when you hear me talk about agencies and departments, these are what I am talking. These are the ones that there would be sharing and improved document information sharing with. You're talking the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, the Department of Labor and Pensions, Customs and Border Control, General registry, director of public prosecution. You're talking DCFS and the Department of Community Rehabilitation. You're also talking about the Department of Financial Assistance, that's DFA, and Health Insurance Commission, portfolio of the Civil Service, the Department of Commerce and Investments, Scholarship Administration Unit, and National Training and Development Unit as well. Now, these are all of the government bodies that have actually gotten into the law where there's better information sharing between these government agencies, as I alluded to earlier on. And this matters hugely because it will help WORC to access a person's character, any criminal proceedings, family-related concerns, financial stability, and even could assist with workforce planning as well. And overall, with these information sharing, it ensures that decisions then are based on full, accurate picture that is shared between all of these government agencies. Now, we also see further down here, annual declarations and more categories that are now included. Based on the law, it expands annual declaration requirements to several groups. And these declarations help WORC to confirm that people continue to meet the conditions of their status, okay? These annual declarations are now applicable or applies to people who were granted the right to be Caymanian through marriage or civil partnership, holders of a residence and employment right certificate, the RERC, as the spouse or civil partner of a Caymanian, and holders of a certificate of direct investment, and holders of resident certificate for substantial business presence. Now, the main reason for this is that these declarations, based on what is declared, they will support the ongoing compliance that is needed. And it also is a part of risk assessment and verification of continued eligibility, that you haven't fallen, that you haven't become destitute. Certain things would signal things as to whether or not the continuity of what was granted to you, whether you meet the same terms and conditions. So this is why these declarations now and the addition into these, and these are the purposes why they're put into place. Hey, North Carolina love, Marshall is in the house. It's good to have you joining us this evening. At the bottom of the screen, you will see false financial information. Now, this is a new section, and under the substantive law, you can find that under 75 subsection A. And what it does is that it makes it a criminal offense to provide false financial information when financial standing must be proven under the act, under the law. And what we see here is that there are penalties on summary conviction, and the penalties is CI $10,000, it's a fine, 1 year imprisonment, or even both. Now, you know, when we were actually doing this as a presentation, when there was for public consultation, we went through this extensively. This is one of them that has made it into the document and wasn't changed. And what this is saying under this is that false financial information can also be used as a ground for revocation of a certificate. And also if they find that you lied based on what your income was, or it was fabricated to, let's say, get a child or children or a spouse added on your work permit. If you provide false financial information, it could also be used as a grounds for the revocation of a work permit as well. Now, the whole idea behind this is it was intended to protect the integrity of the entire immigration system, and we not have people living here below standards because they've just failed to declare the truth. So I can see them becoming more ticklish with what you declare where finances are concerned. And even for these more high-end applications, they're really put it in there so that the law now has teeth for them to revoke should the circumstances change even after the facility has been granted. Now we look at the whole part of scrutiny of marriages and civil partnerships, because what this act now shows is that it supports regulations that will allow marriage officers, registrars, civil registrars, and civil partnership officers, guess what? To request information or even documents. If these individuals, these officers or registrars, have reasonable grounds to suspect a marriage or a civil partnership may be one of convenience. Remember back in the earlier days, and I got to do a follow-up with Ms. Joy Basdeo to invite her back on as we continue the discussion. Now that this law has now put in, I know it's going to take a little while before you see really effects of it, but there was some serious information that she shared during that interview. And we're going to invite her back on for a follow-up discussion now that we have made this step and whether or not it's a step. But there were some great suggestions and recommendations that she made as well. So here you have it. And these changes matters because there have been concerns about relationships, authenticity, and we know exactly that there was no teeth or insufficient teeth in the law. So now with these changes, they're hoping that it would affect RERC decisions, permanent residency decisions, continued decisions based on a relationship. And with doing these checks and balances and giving these officers the teeth, it strengthens the entire system's ability to detect and possibly prevent frivolous immigration marriages and immigration fraud when it comes to these unions. So in a nutshell, this particular section is more accurate decision making because we see where WORC can now access information from multiple government agencies, hoping that it will improve fairness and consistency. We also see broken down here is that more people must file annual declarations to confirm that they still meet the requirements of their immigration status or facility that has been approved as well, which is why it's important that when you get these approvals, you read the terms and conditions, because many a times they have conditions on them and all you want to know is how much my approval fee. Oh, yes, it's approved. That's it. No, you got to really scrutinize those documents now because there are conditions in there that you would have to adhere to, right? And then we see where providing false financial information is now a criminal offense and can lead to the revocation of your facility, a work permit, residency, that sort of stuff, for stronger penalties for dishonesty, just right out being dishonest. And then you see where they've taken a closer review of relationships, and that is enabling authorities to have the ability to request additional documents if they suspect a marriage or partnership is not genuine. So this, my friends, is the whole idea of this is helping protect Caymanian residents and the integrity of the immigration framework in itself as we continue with this development here. So what we need to look at now, and we will just continue on to the permanent residency system. Welcome, one and all. For those of you just joining us, you're in tune to Sabrina Speaks, and we pick up where we left off yesterday, explaining and breaking down the Cayman Protection Act 2022 revision, the guidebook that is just here. We started it off yesterday and we were not finished. So this evening we have picked up where we've left off. We turn our focus right now to the section in this booklet that is available digitally on the WORC website, but we're now going to zoom in on the permanent residency revocation, okay? And what this section is explaining is that the immigration law, the act itself, I keep saying immigration law, the act now expands the situations where persons, permanent residents, you always hear I'm calling it PR, can be taken away. And this is something that there's a active petition out now and that sort of stuff. Yes, there has been a cry for more teeth where the revocation can take place. And in this particular section, these changes are designed to protect the integrity of the system and to ensure that PR is only held by people who genuinely meet the requirements. Now, there are two major grounds for revocation that is highlighted in this document. And one of those is failure to support or positively contribute to a Caymanian child. Let me break it down. If someone used a Caymanian child to show a close Caymanian connection in their PR application, they must continue to financially support the child and contribute positively to the child's life. Now, if WORC or the board believes that this is not happening, guess what? PR may be revoked, okay? What this does is that it prevents people. You ever heard about the anchor babies? Yeah. It prevents persons from using a child or children as a pathway to permanent residency without fulfilling their parental responsibilities. Another section of this, because we heard about sham marriages, is suspected marriages or civil partnership of convenience. Yes, we're still on the top. And PR may be revoked if WORC has reasonable grounds to suspect that the person is in a marriage of convenience or a civil partnership of convenience. And what this does is that this aligns with the broader reforms of targeting non-genuine relationships. And the reason for these changes is that these updates now ensure that PR is not maintained through fake relationships. That is the aim. And that the PR is not maintained through unsupported or neglected family connections. And what it does, with hopes of strengthening fairness and, of course, in result, protecting Caymanian families. We look then at the permanent residence of independent means. When you look at part one of this, it talks about investment in developed real estate. What this is saying, in layman's terms, is that applicants must now prove at the time that they apply for permanent residence of independent means that they have already invested in developed real estate in the Cayman Islands. Meaning, you can't just go and buy a raw piece of land or something that is under construction and don't have certificate of occupancy. Okay? They must now prove that they've already invested in developed real estate in the Cayman Islands and that the amount fully paid meets the minimum legal investment threshold. Okay? Now, what this means is that no one can apply now based on future investment. No more relying on undeveloped land. And proof of payment is now required upfront. Because this, my friends, then ensures that applicants have a real and tangible stake here in the Cayman Islands. So I'm investing in a pre-development, this is going to come to fruition. Those days are done. Okay? What this actually has done too, because what we're looking now, and we just jump to the naturalization phase for this is that we see where applying for naturalization a person of independent means, because yes, that does exist under that facility. Longer pathways has been introduced before naturalization in this section as well, because the process is now significantly longer and more structured to a successful applicant, because now they have to hold the PR certificate for 10 years, first and foremost. And in the 9th year, they need to apply for an indefinite certificate. Yeah. And the third step of the 3-step phase now is that only after receiving the indefinite certificate will that applicant be able to apply for naturalization if they meet all legal requirements. So there is legal requirements where residency is concerned in the Cayman Islands under the British Nationality Act. That British Nationality Act is under the UK, the 1982, okay? That cannot be changed unless it's done in the UK. So what has been impacted is the benefits that you get from being naturalized once you meet those independent requirements, because they have a standalone set of requirements that one has to meet. And your physical presence in the Cayman Islands and your length of time for not being in the jurisdiction is heavily scrutinized. And those timeframes differ from the substantive Immigration or Caymanian Protection Act. It's 2 separate standalone legislation that Cayman independently going to debate on Parliament cannot do with the British Nationality Act. They can't touch that. They can only touch the Caymanian protection immigration side of things. So what this does is that it creates a multi-stage pathway designed to ensure long-term commitment and stability. And what this means is that if permanent residence was granted, as we do this in a synopsis now of this entire section that is on your page, that is up here on the screen. If PR holders was granted based on a Caymanian child, in a synopsis now, ongoing support and involvement are required. And fake or questionable relationships with those child or children will not be tolerated here. And what we're seeing, suspected marriages or partnership of convenience can now lead to PR revocation. Onto the PR independent means, they must invest upfront in real estate, must be completed, not promised, before they can even apply. And what we're seeing, that independent means PR holders must now complete a 10-year period and obtain an indefinite certificate before applying for naturalization under this particular section. And what we're seeing is that these changes ensure that permanent residence reflects genuine ties, real investment, and long-term commitment to the Cayman Islands. So that is what this entire section is saying pretty much in one breath right here. Now, let's look at the different certificates, because we're going to go into this section now that it speaks about special caregivers, commercial farmhands, that sort of stuff, because this is the certificate section of this document now. And what we've seen with this actual, I see you, Connie, what it says with this law is that this revised piece of legislation introduced new certificate categories. And what it does, it sets clear limits on how long certain certificates can now be held. And these changes help regulate long-term residency pathways and ensure that specific occupation are able to be properly monitored during their course. But let's start with the first one that is showed here at the top of the screen under certificates for commercial farmhand certificate. This, my friends, is new. A brand new certificate category that is being created for commercial farmhands. And who qualifies for this are workers employed by an agricultural enterprise, that this enterprise is registered with the Department of Agriculture as a commercial agricultural producer. If you meet those categories, you're entitled to make an application for a commercial farmhand certificate. And this certificate is valid for 5 years if it's granted, and it can be issued up to 2 times or until that worker reaches age of 65, whichever comes first. Now that's the tricky part. You can get up to 10 years, but if your worker is going to be 65 in 3 years, you're not going to get 10 years. You're only going to get 3 years. If they're going to reach the age of 65 in 5 years, in 7 years, you're only going to get 7 or 5 years, whichever happens first. And what this does is that it creates a structured, timed line pathway for agricultural workers, while also supporting Cayman's food security and farming sector. Okay? So that's that section in a nutshell. We move over to specialist caregiver certificate now. And what we're seeing here is that under this law and this guidebook, can be renewable in 5-year periods. And it can be issued a maximum of 2 times or until, same thing, the caregiver reaches the age of 65, whichever happens earlier. Again, under the special caregiver certificate, this ensures consistency across caregiving roles, and it also prevents indefinite rollover for these certificates. Now remember the transitional clause. If you were granted already a certificate, you're protected. If your first one is about to expire, based on what we're understanding, the grant of that will be under the terms of conditions based on when you apply. And that, my friends, today is May 26th, and this law took effect on the 1st of May. So that means even though your original foundation facility was granted before these new requirements, any application submitted after the 1st of May now is judged under these new requirements. And that is where people are saying it's not fair. I'm just telling you to be aware of this, okay? Let's look on at the reissue of certificates and also duplicates. This, my friends, is a new section that gives the Director of Work, WORC, the authority to reissue certificates, and also it gives the Director of Work the authority to provide duplicates of license or permits issued under the Act, under the law. And what this does, my friends, is that it helps streamline administrative processes. And it also ensures that individuals now who can get their lost or replaced or damaged documents without having to restarting their entire application. So it's a more of expediency, more work on the director for sure, or his designate in this case. So yeah, let's hope that makes it easier for for them to just move on. So again, for what was being said here, new pathways for agriculture workers, because now there's a commercial farmhands for a formal and regulated certificate category, no more questioning. It's clear and outlined here in the law. And both farmhands and caregiver certificates last for 5 years at a time and can only be reissued or renewed twice, and they both end at 6 to 5 years when those holders reach 6 to 5, or whichever happens first. And what we are seeing now for easier replacement of documents, WORC can now reissue or duplicate certificates and permits when needed. And again, this hopefully will result in stronger oversight. Yes. These changes hopefully will help to ensure, that long-term residence is not gained through indefinite renewals, but in specific occupations, because I am aware of some who are just a bit upset that their employers now are not, they asked for a domestic helper, but they know the benefits of being a special caregiver. And they're like, no, I don't want to be a domestic helper. I want to be a special caregiver. It's not based on the chores. It's because of the benefits. And I feel that this should be looked at very carefully. In maybe employers, just know your rates, and employees, yours as well. But more so, you apply for what you want, and you shouldn't really be dictated to by an employee if you understand it. And this is why I'm here to break it down for you. So you don't have to do a special caregiver if you don't want to, but if you're being pressured as an elderly person to change the work permit to that of a special caregiver, then you want to raise your antennas up for a little bit. Yeah? Okay. Let's just go on here to the developed real estate section that is up next, because now we're going to go into the new revised definitions. Yes. What this act really, and we're making good momentum here this evening. The act updates several key definitions. And what it does is that it makes the law clearer and support new immigration framework. Because these definitions that we will go through here matter, because they determine who qualifies, what counts, and how decisions are made under the revised system. So let's start with developed real estate for the definition of developed real estate, which I kind of alluded to in my example earlier on. The law now gives a clear definition for developed real estate as stated here, and what qualifies as developed real estate. And this is especially important for investment-based residency categories. And in simple terms, let me break it down as simple as I can. Developed real estate means one strata lot or one parcel of land, a group of connected parcels, and the land must already have real physical improvements such as a building, a structure, other improvements that increase the land's value, and also for industrial, commercial, or residential property, a certificate of occupancy must be issued where required. You see? So if you don't have the green card, if you don't have the certificate of occupancy, it would not meet the definition as developed real estate. And this matters because you can no longer rely on getting an application approved on undeveloped land, or getting an application approved on promises of future development, or land without completed structures. The investment, as stated, must be completed, real, and usable to be determined as developed real estate. Now, let's look at the definition for civil servant. Let's clarify what that is. The Act here shows civil servants as someone who is employed by the government, not someone who is employed by a statutory authority or a government company. Let me repeat that. Not someone who is employed by a statutory authority or a government company. Not a member of parliament, except official members. And they are considered public officers under the Constitution. Now, you understood what I just said? This definition, my friends, affects the eligibility for certain immigration categories, conflict of interest rules, and certain applications are also assessed. I'll leave it there. I'm just breaking it down for you, okay? When we look at the definition for commercial farmhand and the new definition as stated in this now is that a commercial farmhand is defined as a person, farmhand is a person who works as a farmer with livestock farmer, general farmhand, or helper, cares for a farm or cultivates land. And also a part of this definition is employed by an agricultural enterprise that is registered with the Department of Agriculture as a commercial agricultural producer. Okay? This is very important, and let me tell you why. Because this very definition supports the new commercial farmhand certificate. And it ensures then that only genuine agricultural workers will qualify based on the definition as explained or defined here in this document. Now let's look at the section that it says paid up amount, still under the new revised definition. And paid up amount, or the new financial definition for that, is this definition, for one, is critical for investment-based residency categories. Yeah. Because paid up amount means the amount that the applicant has already paid towards the purchase price, the mortgage principal, and or the development cost. And what we're seeing here is that this also includes the amount that must be free of any outstanding financing obligations. The amount must be free and clear of any outstanding financial obligations. So what this is saying is that you must show real money is already paid. And again, not future payments, not pending financing, and unpaid balances. That must not exist. It must be all free and clear, and you must demonstrate where all of that is paid up. Let's look at the revised definition now as we continue here for worker as defined under the new law. Because we see here that the different definition for a worker has been expanded. And the worker now includes anyone, that's anyone for whom a work permit has been granted or may be granted. And it also includes employees of statutory authorities and government companies. Why this matters is because all relevant workers fall under the same rules. We see that work permit obligations apply consistently as well. And with this definition, public sector workers in certain entities are treated the same as private sector workers for immigration purposes. So what I get out of here, no free for all. Yeah. Let it sink in for a little bit. In a nutshell, clearer rules for investment-based residency, and this is all in a nutshell now. Only completed developed real estate counts with proof of payment. There is stronger oversight of agriculture and caregiver roles. We see in the definitions that they ensure only genuine workers qualify for special certificates. We see the expanded definition of worker. This ensures fairness across the sectors. We see where better clarity for government employees. And what this is showing is that the definition of civil servant removes confusion about who is included. And also, there's more transparent decision making, where clearer, definitions will then reduce loopholes and hopefully strengthen the integrity of the system. Yes. What we're seeing here, my friends, is that the revised immigration law introduces these definitions. And bottom line, it is to strengthen clarity and consistency. And these updates, hopefully at the end of the day, will definitely create that transparency, and the whole criteria part will no longer be an issue, right? Let's take a look at work permits, because that's been a hot topic and a hot button, and some people are on the fence with that. But let's break it down as we continue to explain this document in layman's terms to you here this evening. The work permit system that is here now is one of the most significant updated parts, as we can see here in the new immigration law. Because what we saw here is that the focus has now been placed on stricter advertisement requirements. We're seeing where limits on changing employers have been impacted, new financial requirements for dependents. We're seeing also clearer rules on term limits for spouses. And we're also seeing stronger employer reporting obligations as well. And what came with this reform is that the whole idea was to strengthen Caymanian employment opportunities, and hopefully with that would improve fairness and ensure transparency in the labor market. But it has to be enforced. Okay? Let's go straight into the advertisement requirements. What we're seeing here right now is that before applying for a work permit, be it a grant or the renewal, employers must show that the job was advertised for at least 21 days in both. You now have to do it both. The WORC's electronic jobs portal and a locally printed newspaper. That is what is currently in effect. Okay? There is a grace period, though, because until the 21st of May of 2026, which that just passed, employers may still rely on the old 14-day advertisement rule. Now, after that date, all applications must meet the new 21-day rule. And I could see why that could have happened, because you could have already been into the advertisement loop and this hit you and you paid for that. Yeah, so yeah, I can see why that was done. Okay, so that deadline is passed. All right, we're now on the 26th. So now the new requirement of 21 days is now applicable. What we're also seeing now, instead of just on WORC's portal, newspaper advertisements, because employers must now show in their newspaper advertisement 3 consecutive weeks of advertisement, at least 1 ad per week. Okay? 1 ad per week over 3 weeks. And in these printed material, each advertisement must include the WORC's job portal ID, the job title and the description, the required skills and experience for the job title or for the position, the base salary or salary range with benefits, monthly work hours, and employer contact information. And employers may also advertise elsewhere as well. But these 2 platforms are mandatory. Okay. So if you want to go and put it, let's say here, let's say on the CMR platform, CMR, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, ain't nobody stopping you. But what's mandatory is that it must be on the WORC's job portal and in a printed newspaper for the 21 days. And I would suggest, if you're going to go outside and also advertise on these other handles, that you make sure you're not advertising one thing on other handles and just a mandatory one is meeting compliance. And then, yeah. So I think that is something people need to look for, like the gatekeepers need to look for, that it's uniform, no matter what handles you're advertising on, that there is consistency, even though the other handles are not mandatory, but it should bear the same characteristics as those that is mandatory. Okay. We go on to the point or the part where it says restriction on changing employers. Now, this guide that has been provided by WORC, by the ministry, is breaking it down in simpler terms for you to understand. And as stated yesterday, this does not reflect the entire piece of the legislation that was amended, but key areas that, of course, were required some more expounding on, clarification. They broke it down in layman's terms. I'm trying to do my best to break it down in even more layman's terms for us to understand. So, restrictions on changing of employers, as stated, because this now is what is in effect as of the 1st of May. This is a major change that affects work permit holders who want to switch, who want to change employers. And what the new rule here is stating in this guide, this outline in the law, is that a work permit holder cannot change employers within the first 2 years of their work permit. Now, if they do change employers within 2 years, they must leave the Cayman Islands for at least 1 year before another employer can apply for a work permit for them. That's what a document is saying. Okay, hold on. There are exceptions. This rule, though, does not apply to domestic helpers, because they may change employers without leaving the islands. Hold on. There's more. There are exemptions from the 1 year leave requirement, though, as explained here. A worker may apply for an exemption if they left their job due to certain reasons. And these reasons are clear. Regular unpaid overtime, or being forced to work outside their job description, whatever the job title is. If you're working as something else, yeah, you can leave. There are exceptions. Discrimination, if you're subjected to bullying, retaliation, or harassment, including sexual, physical, or verbal. And other circumstances that the director of WORC considers sufficient. Now, these are the catchment, the caveats, where if you're caught into one of these situations, that you are exempted from the 1-year leave requirement where you have to go back or leave the country. They don't care where you go, as long as you're not here. And that does not qualify for Kim and Bracken Little Cayman. Once you leave, but there are exemptions if you fall under these areas. And there are requirements for demonstrating these things, though, because then the worker that is asking for these exemptions must apply in writing within 3 working days of termination. They must also provide proof of the situation that is being alleged. And they must also provide proof of a complaint made to an appropriate authority. Because then work must issue a decision then, once these application and these requirements have been met for the application. WORC must then make a decision within 30 working days of receiving a complete application. And those complete application must meet that requirement as I've outlined. So it could be something that pension or whatever, the DLP, the Department of Labor and Pension, an official report must be made there. It could be the RCIPS, it could be the MASH unit. These are the government agencies they are alluding to when they say that you must make this formal complaint to the relevant and appropriate authority. It could be multiple. It just based on the situation. There's also a part here, almost down on the other section, where it says an employer's duty to notify WORC. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Hi, Sabrina. In relation to the changing employer within the first 2 years, is that for any permits that are approved post May 1, 2026?
Excellent question. And this is why the transition clause blurs some areas, because they're saying it's only what applications were in at the time or that were submitted before the 1st of May that will be dealt with under the old system. So let's say you're on a renewal. Would that year 1 start from now that you're about to put it in? Or because that person has already completed 2 years with your organization, they can leave tomorrow? You understand what I'm saying?
But what about if it's somebody who's changing the employer after May 1?
Changing employer after May 1, from what I understand based on this interpretation, they would be subjected to the 2 years.
No, years with their
there's an echo.
current employer, or in other words, let's say somebody's working for John Brown Associates, right?
Yes.
And they're and at this point in time, May 1 has passed, and they want to change employers. Do they have that option, and then they'll be held for 2 years with their new employer? or are they stuck to complete 2 years with their employer now? In other words, they can't change their employer at this point in time.
Because at this time, their application now is up for renewal?
No, they're just seeking a different job and want to change their employer
I think
and
it
do
would,
it in the process of a release letter.
based on what I am understanding, and I stand to be corrected because there are a lot of gray areas here, is that
Mhm,
it
mhm.
would have to be a fresh start of 2 years.
Right, but with a new employer that they would submit a permit for now,
Yes.
so they okay. And I know there's so much gray areas, right?
Yes, but even that has to be clarified because the new employer would be submitting a new work permit after the 1st of May.
Exactly, but then that is the job that they would be compelled to stay in for 2 years,
Yes,
not necessarily the one that they have been working for at this point
correct.
in.
That's what I understand because then
So
there's
what
a
I mean,
spillover from where
so-
they're working now and then where they're going to. And that's the anomaly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will find out.
Oh yeah, it is based on what it says and it is explicit who was protected. Any facility that has already been granted before the 1st of May. Any application that has been granted on or after, right? Or have been submitted, sorry.
That's when the 2-year time requirement would.
Yeah, but that's a broad brush for any application. So
Mhm.
yeah, your question is moving forward, that's where the 2 years would start. But then what stops them from where they're at right now? When exactly? Because that's already on its immigration journey. How? You see what I'm saying? So
We never thought about this journey topic again.
no, I deliberately use it because it's what people are familiar with. I think it is
It's
just
what caused the issue too, though.
yeah,
Right?
but I think all it takes is a simple press release explaining it. This is not pointing the fingers. This is not casting blame. This was a huge piece of reform.
We're not here to give. What did they say? We're not here to give advice, or
Exactly. But we're just asking for clarification. Because if there was a misspoke or one didn't understand exactly versus what was being put into law, the country would be more forgiving for just clarifying. Because the only ones going to make some money out of this is some attorneys.
that is facts, because
Just clear it up with the press release.
Understanding and fully versed
Correct.
on what to tell the public when they ask. So.
But if you are just zooming in and just looking at I's dotted and T's crossed based on what this document says, any new application that is being submitted on the 1st or thereafter is now going to be under this new. So that person would be locked into the 2 years for the new employer. But it doesn't really truly address with those persons from where they are right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's my understanding too, that if you want to change employers, no, it's not a problem. It's what's granted after May 1 that you're
Correct.
You and me on the same page, so hopefully that works.
Yeah. Well, again,
as well.
it would resolve a lot of fufa if it's just a simple press release. That's all that's needed. We're not pointing the fingers.
Yeah.
Simple
All
press
right.
release. All right, my love.
Thank you. Keep listening.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I got a WhatsApp here. Good evening, Sabrina. I heard that only a domestic helper permit can change and they don't have to leave. But that if they are having problems in that job must be made to WORC. Yeah, I said that, WhatsApper, that they're the only ones that don't have to leave, domestic helpers. So those would be the only one right now that could leave without change employers without having to leave the country. That's what this document says. But if it is obvious, remember now, employers have the right to do a letter of release, and the employee have a right to justify why they're leaving. Domestic helpers could be taking care of an elderly person that's not required special caregiver yet, or a very a special needs child or children, or you understand what I'm saying? So this is not open season for job hopping now in domestic helpers either, because the board, they may not be able, or the requirement to leave the jurisdiction may not impact them, but job hopping will definitely be looked at as well. So I would suggest both parties do their homework and make sure that you meet these requirements. If you find yourself having to leave your employer before 2 years, and you can justify it, and that includes making the necessary reports to the relevant authorities, because then the boards would be charged for looking at how often this person has changed employers within a 2-year window, what disadvantage or upheaval they may have caused in the household based on the circumstances. I think the board has their job cut out for them when it comes to these domestic helpers, and they have to be unbiased and look at both sides, but it's clear what the requirements are if you have to leave your employer's employ for these reasons here. The only thing that differs here is that they don't have to leave the island for 1 year. That's the only thing else that differs, but the same protocols, I'm sure, will apply to even domestic helpers. Let's look at the part now where it says about employer duty to notify WORC when employment ends. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Good evening, Sabrina. Good
Hi.
evening to everyone. I guess like me, like everyone, trying to get some clarity on this new law that is now in force. Regarding domestic helpers, one of the, if I'm understanding clear, is domestic helpers not held, I wouldn't say accountable, I'm not going to use the word accountable. I mean, can they, if I'm understanding, domestic helpers can change from one job to the next.
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
that mean that they can change from, does it have to be within that domestic field, or they can go anywhere after?
Excellent question. It doesn't say. Let's say they want to change from a domestic helper and go to, let's say, construction,
site.
janitorial company, or a receptionist at a spa or something. It is not clear based on...
Or the bank.
Yeah, it is not clear based on the guidance that's given if one would have to remain in that job title as a domestic helper. They just said change employers. But to be fair, not speaking on behalf, and this is where lawyers have a field day. Let's say, because it's not clear, may the best person wins based on justification.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
In its interpretation.
You got a lot of them coming from those places where they come in, they go as domestic helpers. They come to the island as domestic helpers, and they end up as bank employees. I've seen that.
Well, interpretation will have a lot to do with it, which is why sometimes at the end of the day, we're hearing, I know the essence of the law was intended for them to remain in the same job title, in the same category. But again, for clarity reasons, that's all you need to do, little tidbits, because we realize how much flexibility domestic helpers have, right?
Exactly.
But it's only if they remain in the job title. I am quite sure, based on the flexibility that this category was given, it would not have been for them to change job titles.
Job titles.
But again, clarification is required because to make it clear. No room for assumption, because it only takes a learned person to stress test the system when it is not clear.
There's too many loopholes.
Correct.
Yep. Well, that's what I was thinking. Because if again, you'll get them come in as domestic helpers and end up somewhere else.
Yeah.
If they're feasible to go wherever they want to go once they come as a domestic helper.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that they should be held within that field. They should not be able to go to be a cleaner.
I am quite sure the intent was for them to remain in the same job title. But this is where clarification is needed. And is the wording in there clear enough? Or would that require a minor amendment for full clarification?
Yeah, and another field with again, the domestic helpers, a lot of the companies are taking out janitorial services and caregivers together. Is that we gotta know if that's still in the same field, because janitorial cleaner shouldn't be out doing babysitting. That's not what their license covers for.
Well, that's
true
too.
If you got a job out as a cleaner, you shouldn't be out doing as a babysitter, and neither should a babysitter be out doing a janitorial, going to job sites cleaning.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. There's nothing in the law right now that says you can't have multiple job titles. The only thing is that you would pay the higher of the two fee. Now, if, for example, let's say you have a special caregiver's work permit, and then separate and aside from that certificate, you also have the right to work as a janitorial worker. Now, that's almost like a hybrid. But if you're just talking, remove special caregiver, remove all the certificates, and just says, I am a nanny janitorial worker, there's nothing that precludes that from happening. There's nothing that stops that person. I could be a paralegal in the day and a waitress at night. There's nothing that stops that. I would then pay, or my employer would pay the higher of the two fees.
Yes, that would be you get an additional permit. That would be an additional.
It's called an amendment. It's called an amendment.
An amendment. But if you don't have an amendment, you shouldn't be able to have a domestic permit and go to be a janitorial cleaner.
I agree.
Unless your permit covers you for both fields, because that's two different jobs.
You would be working outside terms and conditions of your work permit, and you would be working without a work permit. So you're automatically in breach.
So the employer and the employee needs to understand that too, because
it's a matter of catching them, caller. And this is where enforcement is going to be key, because let's say that you work for me as a domestic during the day, but I also have a janitorial company, and you don't say anything, I don't say nothing. You go over and you just clean that office or that school for me, It's the same employer. That's illegal. Bottom line, that's illegal.
Okay. But that's what we need to get clear.
But you got to catch them.
We need a lot of clarifications. So we need a lot of clarifications in those laws.
Yeah, it is a lot. I must say, this was a huge piece of amendment to take on. And this is why you have to be careful when you speak, it aligns with what is going to become law. Now, if there is something that was overspoken or just not clarified between the two agencies, because we can only imagine what was happening behind the scenes, and now it's law, and you have the same questions coming up, all it takes is a brief explanation to that one hot zone area for clarity. And if there's a minor amendment that is needed, then you do it the next sitting of the House. I don't think the country would beat you up for not doing a 28-day consultation for something that tightens it up to give clarity. That's all I'm saying.
We need to clarify loopholes. We need to clarify them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your contribution. Now, the section that says employer duty to notify work when an employment ends. We are seeing here in this section that employers must notify WORC within 7 days after a worker ends their employ, okay? And penalties for failing to notify, you can't just allow somebody to say, look, you're off the payroll, it's not working between me and you, but you got another month before it would have come to its end, or you got another 2 weeks, whatever the case may be. You could just go out there, but you're on your own. You're on your own. We agree that you're no longer my employee. That's illegal. That's illegal. And right now, the penalties for failing to notify WORC is CI $20,000 fine, 2 years imprisonment, or both. And what this does is that it ensures accurate tracking of work permit holders and prevents abuse of the system. But again, you got to catch them. You got to catch them. That's going to be hard. And who are these? This part is for the employer. Wouldn't you say that the employee is just as guilty? Food for thought. Stick a pin right there. Food for thought. Even though this section is deliberately addressing employer's duty to notify, if the employer, if the organization, the holder of the work permit, agrees with the worker that they're not going to notify, yeah, don't you think it's both? But right now, to keep the focus on the document, employers, organizations can have these penalties are up to $20,000 in fine, 2 years imprisoned, or both. And hopefully this will not be the case, and that they would want to rid themselves of the liability and do the right thing and report. Look, go and get your time sorted out. I'm going to report it to WORC. You go to CBC and you get your facility, your passport, your travel document updated with the 7 to 10 days, 30 days, whatever the case may be, until you either depart or find another employer. Okay. We see where section 5 here is saying financial standing for dependents. To add dependents now in this section to a work permit, the applicant is now required and must show CI $5,000 per month in primary income for the first dependent. So your base salary to even consider one dependent, you must demonstrate that you have a basic income of $5,000 per month. And let's say there's 2 dependents, then there is an additional $1,000 per month for each additional dependent. Okay? So income may be combined is what this is saying. So if applying under the work permits, which is 58 subsection 3D, or 38 subsection 3G is in Gary for RERC, the spouse of a civil partner of a Caymanian, the applicant and the spouse and the civil partner may combine their income if this is the case. So if there's 2 parties, combined incomes can be taken into consideration for work permits, RERC as spouse, civil partner of a Caymanian. Okay? Let's go down to the bottom of the screen where it says term limits when both spouses hold work permits. Very interesting section here. Okay, I'm just going to go over because the bulk of it is on the other page. Now, if 2 spouses both hold work permits, they may choose to align their term limits. And under the new rule, if they align their limits, their term limits, both spouses will now follow the shorter remaining term limit. Who would want to do that? They will not follow the spouse with the longer remaining time. To me, that didn't even make sense to put in, because why would I want to get less? Why would I align it to get less time? I don't know. If they do not align, they may continue with different term limit expiration dates, which means they either apply for permanent residence if they so desire, or they leave and go home, whichever one ends their term limit first. But they cannot continue under their partner's permit when it renews. So not even adding you as a dependent. No, you gotta go. So if neither spouse has reached their term limit, they may now continue under the current arrangement until the permit expires. And at the renewal, they should check with WORC to confirm eligibility. And I quote, WORC is not there to give you legal advice. You can ask your questions, but they're not there to give you legal advice. My friends, what this means with all of these sections is that what we're seeing here is that this immigration reform introduces major changes to the work permit system. We see where employers must now advertise jobs for 21 days on the WORC jobs portal and in a local newspaper. We're also seeing here in this section that work permit holders cannot change employers within the first 2 years unless they qualify for an exemption, and employers must notify work within 7 days when employment ends. But we see where there's still a question mark. What happens where the 2-year requirement if you are with your current employer now? And it's a renewal and you're not going, you're not leaving. Are you then for the next renewal locked in to remain an additional 2 years? We just need some clarity for that. And then if they choose to leave at the end of this current work permit with their current employer, would the new term 2-year being static then apply for that new employer? Yeah, that first caller and I are on the same page, but my friends, you need some clarity. And that shouldn't be that hard to clarify what is the intent of the law. It's not legal advice, it's just clarification. And what we're seeing here is that the new financial requirements for any dependents and spouses on work permits must now align with term limits more carefully. And what these updates are doing is providing fairness, transparency, and Caymanian employment opportunities is exactly what they're looking to get out of this. Okay. Now we're seeing where there's a side here that's expedited services. And as we wrap it up here, because we're almost done, what this reform formally introduces is express fees now into the law. And this section is there are additional fees that people can pay or persons, employers can pay when someone wants a faster processing of certain immigration applications. And these express fees do not replace the normal application fee. They are paid in addition on top of the fees. So it's an additional cost, okay? And under the updated framework, what we're seeing here in this expedited section is that express fees apply to specific categories. And these categories include business visitor work permits, temporary work permits, and annual permits. So 1-year work permits. Business visitors permits, temporary work permits, and annual work permits are what these categories are included. And what this means is that applicants in these categories may choose to pay an extra fee to have their application process more quickly. Now, there are sections in this as well where express fees are not refundable. This talks about the refund side of it now. And what this says here is that a refund will not be given if the delay is caused by statutory requirements, regulatory requirements, administrative requirements, legal requirements, further review of the application, and any other required proceedings before a decision can be made. So let me break that down for you. If the delay is due to something that the law requires WORC to do, the express fee will not be refunded. Okay? And what work has a requirement too, they have a mandate as well, because WORC must now provide written notice in 2 situations. The first one is before payment is done, right? WORC must tell the applicant in writing that the express fee will not be refunded if certain types of delays occur. And after the payment as well, that's the other section. If a delay happens for any of the listed reasons that I outlined before, WORC now must notify the applicant in writing explaining why. And this is important because it ensures full transparency and hopefully will prevent any misunderstandings. Moving to the temporary work permit express fees that are paid before the 1st of May of 2026. Now, there is a special rule that applies to people who paid any express fees for a temporary work permit before, and the new express fee provisions took effect on the 1st of May. What is key to outline here is that refunds for those earlier payments will be handled under the old rules and not the new ones. So if you paid an express fee before the 1st of May, all of what I just outlined to you does not apply. The old system will apply. Okay? So, yeah. In general, for this expedited section, as we wrap up this whole section and this show, wow, we did good today. Faster processing now for this section is now formally available because applicants in certain categories can pay an express fee for quicker decisions. One key thing to be reminded of here now, people tend to think that when you pay these express fees, that you're guaranteed an approval. Please don't come with that notion. That does not guarantee an approval. It is clearly stated for the reason in which you pay the express fee to get a decision. It doesn't guarantee a favorable one. It doesn't guarantee an approval. Okay. Express fees are not always refundable, as stated here. Because if the delay is due to legal or administrative requirements, as I outlined earlier on, the fee will not be returned under the new system. That's anyone requesting these after the 1st of May. And WORC must provide written notice. They have an obligation because applicants must be informed before paying and again if qualifying delay occurs. Now, what we're saying here is that old payments, as I alluded to earlier on, will follow old rules, and they've also highlighted here in this document as well. Because any express fees paid before the 1st of May are handled under the old law, under the old system. And this, my friends, hopefully, with these new rules, they will ensure that applicants understand what they are paying for and when refunds are not possible, that it's clearly communicated from both sides. So that pretty much ends this document, and it's 17 slides that I've shared with you. And these are what is in the rest of this are just the fees, the right to be Caymanian with the fees. We went through all of these with you under the regulations. You see the right Caymanian, the fees that applies to the special caregivers and the commercial farmhand. And then you see the fees that's applicable to the surviving spouse or civil partner of a Caymanian. You see the permanent residence of the 8-year residency and how those fees are broken down based on your annual income, the filing fee, and the work permit fees, which you have to compare regulations with this because there are multiple fees for one lump sum payment of an 8-year application. And then you also see contained in this booklet, residence and employment rights certificate, spouse of a civil partner or of a Caymanian. And you see those fees outlined there, same as independent means, and certificate for permanent residence, again, for independent means broken down there. You got the direct investment. You got the fees that would be applicable for substantial business presence. And then, of course, business staffing plans, we see where the fees here as well for those are there as well. And we see the necessary fees for the reissuing of documents here. For example, issue of a duplicate certificate for special caregivers. It was, oh, sorry, I'm going blind. Anyhow, you got all of these different fees for the entertainers, even all of these. This is like your regulations. Remember, you got a different set. So all of these fees are outlined in this document. And as promised, this document is on the WORC website. What I've done is to just break down all the explanation for you. And based on the explanation that I've provided with you, these are the fees now that goes along with the relevant application types that we were actually talking about. And as I stated yesterday's episode, this was last updated on the 19th of May, 2026. And I am hoping that as we continue to develop this, we hear that the next tranche of amendments that is pending would be the point system for permanent residents, the 8-year point system. So that is not yet, that's something that I'm understanding that they're working on. So we're waiting for that as well and for more updates. But right now, it's just wrapping your head around all of this. There's still a lot of clarification. And oh, for my people who are listening, key employee no longer exists. There is no application for a key employee. So if someone has reached the end of their term limit, their only other recourse is to go home and come back. Or if they meet the requirements or feel that they would be granted permanent residence, their only other extension would be to apply for permanent residence on the grounds of residence. There is no special designation for a key worker that would extend someone beyond their term limit. No, that has been removed. So I got, as a matter of fact, my WhatsApper, I got 3 other persons that asked the same question. So I don't know for true what was said in regards to key employee, that somebody thought that had been brought back up. But I got 3 different queries. So something somewhere was said about key employee that had people thinking that key employee was going to be reintroduced or was reintroduced. That is not based on what information that I'm finding. It does not exist. That ended in itself. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, that brings us to the end of, hold on, let's see here, Live Happy. Great point, because across the board, too many guest workers waltz in and start dictating and bespoke set of demands to employers and even to government, even to the government. That should never be the case. I think, Live Happy, you were talking about the domestic helper who's on a domestic helper work permit and putting indirect pressure on the employer to change their category to a special caregiver. That's a red flag. Bottom line, that's a red flag. Live Happy also commented and says, employers need to be far more assertive and confident in enforcing Cayman's rules, not bending to every request that comes through the door. And Live Happy also commented, reminder, a domestic helper and a caregiver are 2 different job titles under the law. You're so quite right. And yeah, but that concludes all of the comments here that we have here today received on the Sabrina Speaks, and brings me to the close of today's episode. And I'm hoping that you were enlightened, that you were educated, that we brought some clarity. We definitely highlighted some I wouldn't say inconsistencies, but need some clarification. And I'm hoping that the next time that ministry, that department is on some local station, or in short order, we can see an update to their website of the questions that have been asked here tonight. And, again, we want to let you know that you can always go back and watch these episodes of Sabrina Speak. Once this is live, they're always there on the show for you to go back on demand, be it on YouTube or right here under Reels on Facebook. Easy to find. What I'll do, I'll share the links after it's been fully uploaded. And me, myself, have a hard time finding it sometimes. But it has been a pleasure having you join me this evening. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the participation for those who called in and the WhatsApp messages as well. Until tomorrow, please do have a good evening. God bless. Love you lots. Stay informed and don't stop talking. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, K-Man, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.